These are the plaintiffs, Ebony Frazier and Jerome Donnell. Jerome says the defendant ruined 4 of their flat-screen TVs because he didn't wrap them properly before throwing them in his truck. No matter what they do, they can't seem to get the money they're owed, so they're suing for the $6,000 they're out. This is the defendant, Ahmaud Hardin. He says he didn't damage 4 TVs. In fact, he didn't even damage 1 TV. These plaintiffs are trying to pin the blame on him for something he didn't do, and he thinks the judge will agree. He's accused of a TV fiasco. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $3,500 for defamation and slander because they tarnished his good name on the internet.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session, and the Honorable Judge Marilyn Williams now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Frazier and Mr. Donnell, you're suing Mr. Hardin's company for $6,000 in damages that you say they did to your belongings. Yes. And you hired the defendants to do your move, correct? And Ms. Frazier, how did you know of the defendant's company?
He actually did a move for the company that I work for. So I asked him his name, he gave me his card, and then I reached out to him probably the end of October, around October 27th. I emailed him and called him to see if he can
And they were going to charge you $600 for the move. And let's talk about the television sets, because it's all about the television sets.
Yeah, we didn't have a
600?
price until, no, we didn't have a set price until after. There was no price.
After
he just
what?
said, I'm going to take care of it. After the move.
Why would you do that? What if he said $3,000? Why wouldn't you have a set price for your move?
We was going with his judgment.
Are you out of your minds? What if his judgment was $3,000?
I would have had to pay it.
You're kidding me.
No, ma'am.
That's nuts. All right. So now tell me what happens. They get there and you have how many TVs, according to you?
We have 7 TVs. I had 7 TVs wrapped up upstairs on the couch.
How did you have them wrapped?
With a blanket, with a thick blanket. He asked if we have
With
a
what
box
kind of
for
blanket?
The 7 comforters.
All right. And they asked if you had boxes for them, and you didn't. And so what was discussed?
No. He said, well, I asked him then, is it a problem? I can move the TVs. He was like, no, we'll see. He only asked for a box for the 70-inch because he was like, that's a big TV. Do you have a box? I'm like, who has a box after you unwrap your TV and hang it? You don't have a box. So
even
like,
I don't,
we'll
and I
see.
keep everything.
Right. So they got to move in the furniture, moving. So about an hour in, now the couches are moved out. The TV's on the floor. I asked him again. I said, you sure you want me to move? He said, oh, I got him. We got room. I'll take care of it. So there was 2 times.
Who's actually saying that, Mr. Hardin?
Correct.
He's the one that
Mr. Hardin,
moved
let me ask you a question. Do you have a written contract for these moves, for this move?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I use House Call Pro CRM, and it also has our terms and conditions as well.
Okay, so did you send them an estimate that they approved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't see that in the evidence. Can you tell me how?
I can send it to you.
Go ahead, show it to me.
This is House Call Pro. That's
okay,
Ebony
that's
Frazier.
lovely. That's the kind of thing I need, okay? Is there an ability to buy insurance or waive insurance on this service that you have there?
Well, the options for insurance, as according to the FMCA, with every moving company, we all have to abide by this. It's called valuation. It's not actual insurance. But the basic one is 60 cents per pound per article. So basically what that means
I need to
is
see that she signed that, because you've given me nothing to show she signed that. Show me how she signed that, or her picking of the boxes and all that. Is this starting to sound familiar, Ms. Frazier, that you went online?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Not even a little bit. Okay, so now let's see if
a
it's
little
true
bit.
or not.
Your Honor, I wish I would have known in advance. I could have said this from my computer. From my phone.
There's nobody here to tell. Listen, I wish your brain cells would connect too. There's nobody who's supposed to warn you what to bring to court. You're in small claims. You're being sued over a contract, and you can't prove the contract. If you're saying to me, she can't sue for $6,000, she's limited to 60 cents a pound, which is what most movers' contract is. So now I just need to see that she signed your terms and conditions. Prove that she signed it. Can you do that?
I can't at the current moment, Your Honor, no. But
okay, then that's okay. Well, then you have your problem. Why didn't you, if you were there for that move, why didn't you just have him sign something in front of you?
We did not feel comfortable at that move. There were like guns out and everything else. So we were just trying to do the best that we could to get her items.
You get out of your truck. You get out of your truck, and then you hand the written contract before you go in and get uncomfortable because you saw his guns. I'm asking you your failure, not his failure. I'm asking you why you don't have something in writing that waives liability like this, like you are demanding that I follow, but you cannot show they approved. Okay, so everything was verbal between you guys. All right, so now your TVs are not in boxes, and they tell you we don't normally take TVs that aren't in boxes, correct?
Just the 70-inch.
Just the 70-inch. All right. So at the time when you're moving from your house, the move is over, and here are all these TVs, what do you say to them? I'll take them.
During the move, I asked him twice, does he want me to get the TVs? He said, no, we'll get it. They packed up half the truck, and then that's when they put the TVs on in the end. Couches was moved. Everything was moved. Then
okay, Mr. Hardin, you tell me how they were packed in the truck and why. Because if he says he's willing to just take them, why would you even take that responsibility?
Well, that's correct. I would have never taken those televisions had he offered to take them like that. What he told me originally was that he would take them once I went to the basement and I saw the 70-inch up against the wall with one or two other televisions. I told him, we don't take televisions that large without a box. He said, well, I'll take them. Don't worry about it. So the televisions were in the corner after everything had been loaded into the house. And that's when he asked me, am I taking the televisions? I told him, well, do you have any room in your vehicle? He said, well, no, not really. So I said, oh, well, if you really need me to take them, I'll take them. So the televisions were never wrapped. Once the televisions were brought out to me by the guy that was working with me, whose testimonial you also have, I wrapped them up on a panel cart. So he watched as I wrapped the televisions and then put padding around them to ensure that, because there were still mounts on some of the televisions as well, to ensure that they wouldn't damage anything. All of this was with a large glass, thin kitchen tabletop, which I must mention, it was all together on the cart. And none of that, and that wasn't damaged. If anything, that would have damaged first.
Well, you know, because you got to the other side. They moved wherever they moved, and when you guys were you still there, or you weren't there on the other side? You left.
No, ma'am. I left. One of my guys showed up. He was on a morning job, and he switched positions with me. So I gave him the opportunity to work and get in additional hours.
All right. So you get a call from the place they're moving into. You get a call from one of your guys saying, hey, one of the TVs is broken, correct?
Correct. And at that point, I reached out to them and told them to send me a picture of the screen and the model numbers. The reason I said that was because what I try to offer to my clients, if something is damaged due to our negligence, is that I will repair, replace, or compensate them based upon the current value of that item. That's why I asked for the model numbers. So if we were at fault, I was going to look that television up and order another one.
Okay. Well, who else could be at fault? You packed them and you put them in your truck.
I was told that on the other end, the client's boyfriend was saying that he had to go to work and he had to hurry up and get to work. So there were other people helping move items, including the bed downstairs and things like that. So that's what I'm being told. I don't know. I didn't get the opportunity to see who touched what or anything before I got the backlash online.
Who learned about the TV on the day of the move and called you? Which employee?
The person that took my place, his name is Myron, is the one that called me.
Is Myron here to testify?
No, ma'am, he's not. He's at work.
You get the call from Myron, and then you talk to them. And Mr. Donald, how do you notice that this is which one? The first television you notice that's cracked is what, the 46-inch Emerson?
I believe so.
I noticed it.
All right. And you notice that it's cracked how?
The mover looked at it, and then I looked at it. I said, dang, it's cracked. So I chilled, let them keep going. He brought another TV in, glanced at the same TV again, then looked at this one, the second TV he brought in. Within, I guess,
which
the guy
TV
he said
was
that
the second TV he brought in?
The 40-inch.
Which was the RCA.
That would be a 40-inch RCA. And was that one damaged?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you point it out to him that there's a second one damaged?
Yes, that's when he called Ahmad. That's when.
And so the discussion was that 2 TVs were damaged?
At that time?
Yes. At that time, are you testifying under oath that you said to him that 2 TVs were damaged?
No. At that time, we noticed the one that was cracked because the screen was cracked. We only talked about 1 TV.
Right. And then they brought in a second one. And then I asked you what was wrong with that one because you said he looked at it. And then you told me that that one was cracked. So are there 2 TVs that were cracked at that point in time?
At that point, no, we didn't notice. Just the one because of the screen was cracked.
When you noticed that the first TV was cracked, did you open up all of the wrappings and check out all your TVs?
No.
Why not? Wouldn't that make sense? If you're worried about the way they packed your TVs and you see that it's cracked, wouldn't you open up all of them to see that they're all cracked?
Your Honor, when he came in and he cracked, when I seen the crack on the first TV, myself, I looked at the rest of the TVs. The rest of the TVs were not cracked. We didn't notice that the other TVs were damaged until the next day when we plugged them up when AT&T came to hook up our TV service. We didn't notice any of them were cracked except that first one at that time. And that's when.
And yet you're telling me that the rest of them are. You're telling me that how many more got cracked? A total of what?
None.
3.
None
4 altogether.
None got cracked. That was the only one that was cracked. The other one were damaged. Only when you plug them up, you can see the damage of when.
Why are you sending
up.
them pictures of a bunch of cracked TVs?
I called him that day. I talked to him that day. We thought it was 1 TV. He was acting like I'll handle it. Then we got on the payment. But he was saying, hey, I'll handle it. Let me see. He didn't say that was it. So give him time. Like when we noticed the next day, hey, we have 4 TVs messed up. I mean, we're trying to get these people.
How were they messed up? How were your other TVs messed up?
You can tell where on the 70-inch it had been hit twice. You can tell on my son's TV.
But I thought you looked at all the other TVs and they were fine. That was your testimony.
We talked about the next day. No, I never said they were fine that night. We didn't look at them at night.
She did.
At 1 TV.
She said, I looked at the... Okay, so you got a cracked TV, but you don't unveil all the other TVs and inspect them? You don't do that?
We didn't plug. I didn't know. I did not plug up all the rest of the TV.
So, okay, you're telling me, Ebony, that it's a problem when you plug it in. He's telling me that there's physical damage, okay? So you're testifying to 2 completely different things. I'll tell you what else has me concerned. I'm looking at your emails to him, and in your emails to him, you say to him, 3 of our TVs are messed up. And then you're suing for 4 TVs messed up. And yet this is 2 or 3 days after the move. 4 days after the move, you're saying 3 TVs are messed up. And then when you file the lawsuit, it's 4 TVs. What's going on?
The 4th TV came about after I had even sued him because we're still in the process of unpacking. We're still in the process of plugging things
But you understand how it sounds a little suspicious,
yes,
right?
Ma'am.
Do you have receipts for any of these TVs?
Nope.
So you have no receipts for what you actually paid. I don't know what the model numbers are. I don't know how much they're worth I can't estimate how old they are, so I can't depreciate them, which is what you're entitled to, depreciated value. You discover damage after the movers have left on everything except for the 1 TV. How do I know you guys didn't damage the TVs yourself, moving them around, if you didn't inspect them that day? Because that's the day that you should have them put it in the room that it's going to be in or on the furniture that they've just delivered or whatever else. And if you just leave them wrapped in a basement or something, how do I know you didn't drop it? And that's why it doesn't work once the movers have gone.
No, they did put them in the room.
They put them in the rooms. They just, in each room, we didn't plug it up. We didn't plug them up until the next day.
Even after you found the first one that was bashed, you didn't plug it up. Did they ever tell you, Mr. Hardin, that the others were physically damaged?
No, ma'am. It was only the one.
What was it they said? No, I know that they emailed you and texted you and it got all kinds of nasty. So at some point they told you about the others. What was it they said had happened to the others?
When I first got notification about further damages, it was like 10 o'clock in the evening when I received that text message I sent you stating that he was upset and there's 3 TVs. And then he stated that he asked me
3
several
TVs
times.
total. So even when, by the way, when you're really all kinds of upset and you tell them that there's 3 TVs total, Mr. Donnell, you still hadn't tried out that 4th TV?
No, our son came in.
That's kind of funky.
I understand. But when my son came in from school,
right.
He plugged up the TV downstairs. He said, it's a blue line across my TV.
I'm sorry. Let me see if I've got this straight. They busted one TV. You test none of the others that day. 2 days, 4 days later, you find out that, according to you, 2 more are not working. Okay.
Next day.
And you don't plug in the others. You send him like a text at 10 o'clock at night. Let's read the text. Hold on. Let's read the text. This is 3 TVs, bro, that I'm hot about. I asked you before you touch them, do you need to get them? So you're hot and bothered, but you don't plug in the rest of the TVs to see if anything's wrong with them? It starts to sound like you're just trying to get one over on them and get them to pay for all new TVs when it looks this way. You understand how it looks, though, right?
Yes, but I did plug up TV. We had a 42-inch that
So what ends up happening, Ms. Frazier, you end up putting some reviews online, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And those reviews are the subject, Mr. Hardin, of your counterclaim against them. Talk to me about your counterclaim. Go ahead.
There were a lot of reviews, and there's not, everyone's entitled to leave a review, but there were a lot of negative things said about me, about my company, posts of broken televisions put under posts that are about donations meant to help people. I was called an evil, that I'm not a blessing, and all these other different things. And to be honest with you, if I felt like I was at fault, I was more than willing to be able to do whatever it took to make sure that this was right. Like this person.
Yeah, but you didn't do anything about the first TV. Why didn't you do anything about the first one?
Well, Your Honor, to be honest with you, I don't want to make excuses. I was dealing with a lot. I didn't communicate with her initially because after I started seeing the text message at 10:30, the bro, I'm hot, and all these messages and people were telling me I'm getting bad reviews, I had to look and see what was legally the wise thing for me to do as far as being able to communicate with them. I even reached out to where she worked at and hoped that they would be able to mediate this in a peaceful way so that we could resolve this. And I kept reiterating to the person I was speaking to on the phone, I am not trying to get this individual in trouble. I'm not trying to complain. I just want to get this resolved. And she spoke to her supervisor, called me back.
But why would you involve them? Like, in other words, were you going to ask them to mediate it? Because that sounds like the last thing you would want is for them to get involved. If they're a vendor of yours, you want them to not be involved because you don't want to bring drama into the relationship that you have with them.
Absolutely. But when I saw the review, absolutely. But, when people are angry like that, it can be a little irrational. I didn't know how this was going to blow up. So I was trying to catch it before it turned into a blazing fire. I contacted them in hopes that they could resolve it and hear both of our sides of the story, being that there's a relationship between us, almost to the extent of if I met someone through you and they worked for me and messed something up, I say, hey, well, can you reach out to this individual? They're not answering my calls or something like that. That was more of that lines. It was not intended to cause any hardship or any issues with her. It was not with malicious intent. It was just really trying to stop this from getting into something that turned into something ugly.
You're suing today for 4 TVs because in the strange world where you live, after you see one TV broken, you don't test the others, you don't plug them in, you don't do anything. Then you discover another 2 TVs that you plug in and are broken, and in that strange world that you inhabit, that doesn't propel you to physically walk to the other TVs and plug them in and notice any other damage because you want me to believe that a 4th TV also doesn't work. And this is by now, it's 6 days after the move, and that TV doesn't work. And you're suing for 4 TVs. Every email and text that's sent and discussed between everybody talks about 3 TVs. And you're also suing for the cost of the moving job back, and you're also suing for mental anguish. $3,149.17 in mental anguish for a total of $6,000 that you want him to pay you. How do you figure for 3 broken old TVs that you can't prove how old they are? Or 4, if I'm to believe that you just keep finding broken TVs everywhere.
Well, the TVs, of course, we got the TVs when we decided to move in together. That's how we got the TVs. The TVs are not that old. They're, 2.5 years old.
I don't know how old they are. I don't have their model numbers. I don't have a receipt for them. All I have is you picking the TVs you want off the internet. That's not proof. And by the way, if you want to claim damages against the movers, you really have to notice them when it happens and before they leave. You can't just keep coming up with more TVs by the second. You can't, okay? I am ordering the defendant to pay the plaintiff the depreciated value of $250. That's my verdict, and I got to tell you, that's actually really generous for a used TV that's 2 years old. Good luck, folks. And on your counterclaim, Mr. Hardin, I am not 100% sure who broke those TVs. I know they didn't prove to me that you guys broke those TVs, okay? But I'm not sure you didn't break those TVs. So to find in your favor in defamation, I would have to find that they're without a doubt lying, and I'm not in a position to find that. It's frankly a mystery.
Your Honor, there's several lies.
So the answer on your counterclaim is 0.
Those people just got away with murder.
Mr. Hardin, let me ask you. You're the defendant. What's your reaction to this case? You had a $3,500 countersuit. You don't get anything. Zip.
Well, I'm fine with that. It's going to go on. Life is going to go on. My business will continue on. We'll continue to help people and to move people. I hate that this happened between myself and a former client, and I really wish them the best. I just wish that more of the truth could have come out as well.
Yeah, well, you should have had to sign the contract, copies of the contract. That really hurts your case.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
It does, and I learned a serious lesson. This lady worked for someone I had a contract with, and I didn't do a lot of things I should have done. That's absolutely true.
And do you think their negative comments on the internet have really hurt your business, or is it too early for you to tell?
Well, I know it's hurt my business because of people responding and whatnot. But again, there are a lot of positive reviews. It's the only negative review I have. So hopefully people will look at the complete story and be able to decipher what's real and what isn't.
All right. Well, good luck to you. Let me just ask you, number one, you guys got a lot of TVs. You're big TV fans. What do you think about the judge's decision? You didn't have any proof for her. That's why you didn't get any more.
It is what it is.
I'm sorry for you. I wish you'd had more evidence to help your case. Let's see what they have to say now. Another session of After the Verdict.
And so ends the Tennessee TV massacre. Okay? And you have sorted it out. And it sounds like both
I don't know that I've sorted anything out, but...
Well, you got plaintiffs who are unhappy. You've got a defendant who's unhappy. But I have to say, the defendant came to court without the contract. I didn't have...
If somebody had told me I need the contract, I mean, that's just... it's ridiculous.
Litigants who come into court with their ducks in a row, with their evidence squared away or their defenses squared away, we call them winners a lot of the time because they're very persuasive and all that evidence.
What did you think about TV after TV all of a sudden?
You're right. During a move, you can damage a TV a lot of different ways. Just moving it from room A to room B or setting it up to plug it in, etc. They say, look, we had to plug them in to find the damage. But
why wouldn't they just plug them in and find the damage?
A failure of proof, really, on behalf of the plaintiffs. I think they're lucky they got the $250.
So Mary wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, each state sets a maximum amount that can be sued for in small claims court. Are there minimum amounts? And the answer to that is no. We have had cases in the People's Court for under $1 because sometimes they're not suing for money, they're suing for principal.